Today, in the pandemic situation of Corona COVID 19, the personal protective equipments are in huge demand. So, here we are organizing a webinar on the development and design of the personal protective equipment. Specifically, we are targeting the design and development of the face mask, which is a respirator, likely to be N95 mask. The understanding regarding mask and the respirator is important. So in this whole course we are going to have understanding of mask and respirator. As well, we learn how the different organizations, national and international organizations, are defining code for personal protective equipments. We learn how to define 3D model of this particular face mask and respirator. Then we'll go on discussing the material selection criteria. We learn how to define 3D modeling of respirators. 3D printing of a respirator is an important aspect, as this is the only method through which you will be able to manufacture it in short time with lowest cost. And then we'll learn how to define cost calculation for the respirator. So welcome to the course, and I hope you will learn a lot from the video lectures and webinars. Thank you. I am Dr. Kaushal Bhavsar from Mechanical Engineering Department, LDRP Institute of Technology and Research. I am instructing the course on 3D printing of face masks.
Good morning to all. We are organizing a webinar on the topic how to design and develop a mask or respirator as a personal protective equipment by using 3D printing. I am your host, Dr. Kaushal Bhavsar from Department of Mechanical Engineering, LDRP Institute of Technology and Research. So basically, the course would be targeting the design and development of mask and respirator. How to define 3D model of mask or respirator. How to do 3D printing. We'll learn basic aspects understanding regarding modeling approaches and printing. The product development cycle is the main factor which will concentrate on, and then we'll switch over to 3D modeling approach. While defining a 3D printing of a component, rapid prototyping of a component, we need to define slicing, and for that various softwares are used. So we'll be targeting study regarding slicing of the 3D model what we have developed. And at the end, we'll be targeting the cost calculation for 3D printing. Before starting the understanding of product, we have to analyze the information regarding the product what we want to manufacture. Here, our product is surgical mask and respirator. So what is surgical mask? A surgical mask is loose fitting disposable device that can create physical barrier between mouth and nose of a wearer, and it also provides protection against the contaminations available in environment. The face mask surgical mask what doctors are using are designed to keep the nose and mouth away from the components which are available in environment as a hazard for basic considerations like the spill of blood from the human body while doing the surgeries. The respirators are the breath protection, or you can say respiratory protection devices, which are designed to achieve a very close fit to the nose and face, and it is very efficient in filtering airborne particles. The respirators are commonly used in healthcare settings which are having Here we'll learn what is difference between surgical mask and respirator. The surgical masks are the components which are going to be used by doctors to have protection against large droplet splashes or sprays of, of bodily or other hazardous fluids. It protects the patient from wearer's respiratory emissions. Meaning, if while doing the respirations, breathing in and out the air, if there is any viral infections in a person, then it is not going to be spreaded to the other person. And the N95 respirators are reduces the wearer's exposure to particles including small particles, odors of aerosols and even large droplets. So it is better to use N95 respirator rather than using a surgical mask while you are in close contact with the COVID affected patients. The fits for surgical mask are loose fits and respirators are defining tight fits. The surgical masks do not require fit test while the respirators are needed to be tested for the fit between your nose and face and the environment to the nose and mouth. The seal check is required every time when you purchase or you use N95 respirator while being in contact with the patients. The filtration is about 95% of airborne particles, the particles which are going to be considered as microorganisms also. The surgical mask does not provide reliable protection from inhaling small airborne particles, and it is not considered as respiratory protections. It is just mask which will help you while doing surgery to keep you away from the spills from different components. We do not require to test leakage in surgical mask, while in N95 respirator we have to check fitting with the human face. We have to check for minimal leakage around the edges of respirator while we inhale or exhale. The limitation is surgical masks are disposable. We have to discard it after each patient encounter. An N95 respirator do not require to be discarded till it is damaged or deformed or it is in contact with oil. It no longer forms an effective seal to the face if it is deformed. It becomes wet or visibly dirty, then you have to replace it. The breathing becomes difficult if its filters are contaminated with blood or respiratory or nasal secretions or other bodily fluids from patient. If it is spilled on the surface of an N95 respirator, then it is difficult to breathe. The surgical masks available are in such shapes which you can see directly in the images available. It is not giving you particular protection against the environmental hazards, and the respirators are available in certain designs for certain criteria. In next sessions we are going to cover the various facts regarding respirator designs. You can have design which fits with nose in proper way. The circular extruded surfaces or square extruded surfaces in particular respirators are the filters. Sometimes the filters air filtration occurs due to the inhaling and exhaling available from the human being due to the suction pressure created by lungs while breathing air in, and in some cases it is powered by using some sources. So air supply is available by using some sources in few respirators. The face mask is the third protection component. The face masks are there to keep you away from the particles which are available in air. In air, it removes the or reduce the possibilities of infection by using aerodynamic effects as well, keeping your face separate from the environment, direct contact of environment. In this lecture session, we are going to cover the respirator, the detailed understanding and standards followed by various countries in developing respirators in an important aspect to understand. I am Kaushal Bhavsar. The respirator is device designed to protect wearer from inhaling hazards from atmosphere, which are fumes, vapors, gases, particulated matters available around us, dusts, and airborne particles like microorganisms and other infections. As in basic introduction, we have learned that doctors are not having the basic training regarding using respirators. They are just introduced to surgical masks, as when they are doing the surgery, the exhale from their respiratory system should not interact with the patient. For that, clean rooms are also designed which are having laminar flow in the system, whole room. The respirators are of two types: air purifying respirators and air supplied respirators. The air purifying respirators are depending on the exhaling and inhaling capabilities of human being. External sources, external power is not applied while defining respirations. It cleans the dust or separate the dust while breathing air in. But the whole procedure is controlled or operated by inhale and exhale pressures, suction and high pressures defined while breathing. The air supplied respirators are generally having supply using the electricity. The fresh air is breathed in with the help of air which is supplied by the devices arranged for the supply of air. The face pieces respirators are having three different types or categories, you can say. They are designed by considering various factors. We have to concentrate on which kind of respirator is required: particulate filtering respirators, elastomeric respirators, and powered air purifying respirators. The power air purifying respirators are having battery power to blow the air from the outside environment to the inside portion, which is having close fit to your face and nose. We have to use cartridge to filter air with different criteria in elastomeric respirators. Whenever we are having the hygiene concentration while breathing the air, we are going for different respirator considerations as particulate, elastomeric, or power air purifying respirator. We have to learn some facts that the US government is having Center for Disease Control and Prevention, called CDC, is taking watch on the design and development of surgical masks and respirators. It recommends suggestion that you should use N95 mask which is having certification from CDC. The CDC recommends the use of respirator with at least N95 certification, which is 95% of filtration of air to protect the wearer from inhaled infections. The respiratory syndrome, influenza, Ebola, all those kinds of infectious particles are going to be separated by N95 masks. Some N95 respirators have also been cleared by US FDA, Food and Drug Administration, and labeled as surgical 95 masks for different utility. US standards are following N95 masks. National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health NIOSH helps a lot from 2011 standards to have certification of N95 mask. In Europe, it is going to be called filtering face pieces FFP. So according to European standard EN 143, it defines the P class particulate filters that can be attached to the face masks, and it can be used as the filtering face piece or respirator for filtering the air in this corona pandemic. The other agencies from China, Australia, Korea, and Japan are also having their own standards of developing personal protective equipments, and they are also having codes for design of respirator. The filtration criteria is 2.5 ppm for parts per million for the N95. So various countries are having various standards designated as KN standards, KP standards, EU standards, KF standards, and DS standards. The NPPTL 99 and R100 are used. So we have to concentrate on the ratings. N ratings are for non-oil resistance, R ratings are for oil resistance, and P ratings are for oil proofness. So P95, P99, and P100 are the ratings given to filters which is having interaction of oil, or safety required is for oil and aerosol. The FFP class are used as the different filtration rates, and they are also having a specific elastic band designation, color designation. The filters FFP1 are designed in form of mask, and they are having 80% of filtration rate. FFP2 is having 94% of filtration rate, and FFP3 is having 99% of filtration rate, and their leakage protection is about, or leakage available is about 22%. In case of FFP1 it is 8% in FFP2, and it is 2% in FFP3. The P1, P2, and P3 classification are designed as an attachment. So filters which are designed as P1, P2, and P3 are having filtration rate of 80%, 94%, and 99.95%. We are not having specific color characteristics for it. The filters are also tested for penetration with dry sodium chloride and paraffin oil aerosols, and it is tested for environments of 70 degrees centigrade to minus 30 degrees centigrade. It is operated for 24 hours in the testing environment. You also have to test mechanical strength and breathing resistance available from the mask. Clogging is also a huge issue. In 2008, they have given the update regarding the PPE development. In that, PEE1 covers helmets for different industry utility, PPE2 covers safety footwears, PPE3 respiratory protective equipments, PPE4 arm and hand protection, PPE5 eye and face protection, PPE6 protective clothing and coverings, PPE7 ear protection, and PPE8 safety belts and harnesses. We are targeting PPE3 for the breathing criteria. This is the BIS standard observation. The CHD8 code will give you occupational safety, health, and chemical hazard protection code in practice right now, along with BIS 2008. A wide variety of respiratory personal protective equipments are available from suppliers which are following the AERB safety guidelines. The type of respiratory PEPE are defined on the name of contaminants to be guarded against. It may be chemical, physical, or toxicological properties, the type of work situation, non-emergency or emergency works, and the type of time for which respiratory personal protective equipment is required to be used. The classification is also available in AERB guidelines, which is you may have respiratory protective device of two kinds: air purifying devices and atmosphere supplying air devices. In air purifying device, protection against gas and vapor by using filters, protection against dust, protection against combination of all. So the gas and vapor filters are generally having canisters which will be cleaning the system. Cartridges are also designed. Dust filters are having particulate removing respirators in terms of protective surfaces. The canister respirator, cartridge respirators are also there for combination of gas, vapor and dust. The atmosphere supplying devices are introduced with blower and without blower. Hose masks are there. Airline respiratory systems are there. Self-contained breathing apparatus are there. The open circuit self-contained breathing apparatus and closed circuit systems are there. In open type, it depends on demand, pressure demand, and in closed type, oxygen gathering, oxygen generators, and compressed or liquid oxygen type, which recently have been introduced in Ahmedabad Civil Hospital. The airline respirators are continuous flow type respirators and demand type respirators, as well pressure demand type respirators. The people who are living besides COVID-19 patients are using masks without blower, which is N95 according to the guidelines available from US, and the DRDO have designed N99 masks, which is giving about 99% of filtration rate. The respirators may be designed as negative pressure respirators, positive pressure respirators, and escape only respirators, which are in terms of mechanical filters or chemical media separators, or which are having electrochemical effects to clean the input air.